Hi everybody, I am Dr. Debbie Pates and welcome to Wellness Wednesday. I apologize as it's like 2 minutes late here. As many times as I've done this, I seem to have kind of forgotten how to do it. So I was fumbling around to get set up here and I forgot to look in the mirror and I put my hair up, but anyway. So online I wrote yesterday, I put a little teaser saying that this was my last time broadcasting this from my living room because we are at the UCCS Wellness Center where I work starting to phase back into working from the office, and I thought I was going to be going back on Wednesdays, but as it turns out I was wrong. I'm not going back on Wednesdays yet, so I will continue doing yoga from my living room until June when we're going to be back full-time in the office. So anyway, with all that said, we're going to do a little bit of a different practice today. Everything is going to be familiar, it's just that the flow is going to be a little bit different, but because I like to start in a familiar way, come on into child's pose. So maybe spread your knees wide or keep your knees together. Knees together can be, for some people, a little bit more intense because it rounds your back a bit more dramatically, whereas knees wide opens your hips and creates space for your torso. Neither one is right. It's just what's right for you right now. So hopefully you are face down on the mat. If you are looking at your screen, you're looking at a big gigantic cat standing right in front of the camera. But anyway, she's not really a gigantic cat. She just is taking up the whole camera here. So I'm going to keep on going. So breathing in, filling your lungs up, and then as you exhale, allowing your body to sink even further into the mat, really creating that space of yoga. Yoga doesn't just happen, right? We don't just enter into this meditative state. It takes time to allow whatever else was happening to fall away. Now my other cat is featuring himself in front of the camera. And it takes time to let yoga fall. Whatever else is happening fall away. And yoga, I miss teaching in my office from my house so much because there wouldn't be all of these animals. Okay, well, let's keep practicing yoga. And so from downward facing, from child's pose, tuck your toes. If your arms weren't stretched out in front of you, stretch your arms out, lift your hips, and come on into downward facing dog. And just really land here. Put the weight, roll the weight out of your pinky fingers and more into your pointer and your thumb. So this can feel like rotating your forearms toward each other, and then maybe rotate your biceps up. And with everything I say, if it doesn't make sense to you, either like, huh? What did you just say? I don't understand you. Or it doesn't make sense because it doesn't work for your body, then just don't do that. Everything is a suggestion. Let your heels sink down toward the earth. And just breathe, elongating your spine by pushing into your hands, lifting your hips up. And then rock forward into plank. Bring your hands underneath, or your shoulders over your hands is more accurate here. And then from plank, lower into Chaturanga, halfway down, low push-up position, upward facing dog. And then in up dog, drop your knees, sit back, and come on into a seated position, and then come all the way onto your back. So I've got some notes. I roughed this out yesterday for us. Come all the way onto your back. And hug your knees into your chest. And rock back and forth a little bit. So we're going to do some stuff now that we normally do at the end of a practice when our body is more warm. Place your feet down on the mat, flat, knees bent, and cross your right ankle over your left knee. And then lift up your left leg, put your right hand through the hole, grab onto either the back of your left thigh or maybe the front of your left shin. But we usually do these when we're more warm, and we're a lot less warm now. So I really, really encourage you to experiment with how is your body here. You can even rock left to right a little bit here, just gently, feeling how this feels in your body, what feels right today. And then slide your right thigh on top of your left thigh. Let your legs come to the right, and turn your head to the left. Wait. Yeah, you know what? Spinal twist experiment. I think we want our legs to come to the left here, actually. So maybe your knees went to the right and then bring them back to the left. And notice how your low back is in this shape at this early time in the practice. We didn't spend any time getting warm. So likely for most of us, we're not going to go as deep. Come on back center. Hug both knees in. Separate your knees. Bring them to the outside of your rib cage. Feet up toward the ceiling, and grab onto inside or outside of your feet, maybe even your ankles. It's called happy baby pose. I like to grab onto my ankles and kind of pull down so your feet are facing the ceiling. Try to get your spine as much on the floor as possible, right? So you're not rocking up. You want to let your butt be on the floor as much as you can. And breathe, and let your exhales deepen the posture. Notice if there's tension in your shoulders here, and you do have some tension because you're hanging on to your feet or ankles, but you don't need to add to the tension. And then bring your feet both back on the ground, knees bent. Switch sides, left ankle on top of your right knee. Lift your right leg up. Slide your left hand through the hole and grab onto whatever seems appropriate here. So if you're grabbing onto the back of your right thigh, you can straighten your right leg. You can keep your right leg bent. Maybe rock left to right a little bit. Seeing how that feels on your hip. Keep breathing. And we'll revisit a version. We'll probably be in normal pigeon. Let's see. That was my plan. Noticing the difference between your hips now. Take note. And maybe there'll be a difference later. And then slide onto your right and drop your knees. Let's do the same thing. Drop your knees to the right. Bring them over to the left. And then bring them back to the right. And turn up your awareness on what's going on as you do these shapes, as you do the different movements. What feels good, what feels awkward. Yoga's never intended to create tension, but that doesn't mean there's not going to be challenge. So embracing the challenge, allowing the challenge to be part of what you came to yoga for. Allowing the challenge to be that space where you experiment with, how do I show up? Come on back to center. Hug your knees, uncross your legs. Hug your knees in and rock up and down. So back and forth along your spine. And then eventually coming to seated. And when you get to seated, cross your legs, plant your hands, and step back into a downward facing dog. And from down dog, walk to ragdoll. Take a bunch of baby steps, maybe really small steps of letting your heels sink as low toward the ground as they can. Becoming curious about, when are my heels going to start coming to the ground? And then as your hands Feet get closer to your hands, getting curious about, am I going to need to come up onto my fingertips? And if so, when? And then when you get there, hanging ragdoll. Bend your elbows. Maybe grab onto opposite elbows or tuck your hands into the crook of opposite elbows and sway and work with your body, not against your body. So allowing this shape to take what the version of it and every other shape we do that your body needs today, right? Working with injuries or soreness or looseness, right? Maybe you're getting in better shape and you can do this in a different way. And I encourage you to think about things as being different, not better or worse. Release your hands and roll up to standing. We're going to do a couple of sun salutations. So when you get to standing, inhale your arms up. Lift your kneecaps, engage your quadriceps, energy through your fingertips from the floor, earth, all the way up to the ceiling, to the sky. And then bring your hands in together, bring your hands together overhead and into your heart. Connecting with your own heart. Connecting with the pulse of your heart. Inhale your arms up and then dive forward or hands through heart center. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, put your hands down, step back, high plank. Lower Chaturanga or all the way to the floor. Upward facing dog or cobra, and then lift your hips. Roll over, flip over your toes, downward facing dog. Breathe. Look in between your hands and make your way to the top of your space. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Sweep your arms out, rise with a flat back, core engagement. Bring your hands together over your head and pull your energy into your heart and inhale your arms right back up. Fold. Lift. High plank to low plank. Upward facing dog. Facing dog, inhale. Exhale. Step to the top of your space. Halfway lift. Fold. Sweep up. Hands together overhead. And pull your hands down toward your own midline energy center. Arms up. Fold. Lengthen and lift. Step back, high plank. Chaturanga. Upward facing dog to downward facing dog. And then rock forward into high plank. And on a count of 5, lower yourself all the way to the ground. So on your own count, and it doesn't really matter, but my point is try to do it with strength rather than just collapsing. And when you get to the earth, untuck your toes and maybe think about keep your hands where they are. Think about trying to roll your inner thighs up toward the ceiling so that the tops of your thighs are more solidly on the mat, and maybe your pinky toes are a little more connected. And let's do a cobra. We'll do a short back bending sequence here. So hug your elbows into your sides and little or no weight in your hands. Inhale up. So that this is really coming from your low back. Notice, try to keep your butt soft and your feet relaxed. And then exhale. Come on down. Bring your hands alongside your body, palms facing up. Turn your head to the right, left ear on the mat. Take a few breaths. We're not going to be here that long, so enjoy it while you can. And then again, forehead or chin to the mat. Turn your palms to face the ground, and then on an inhale, locust, lift everything you can. Lift your arms, lift your legs. Can you lift your thighs off the ground, lifting your head, your chest, lifting as much as you can, whatever you can. Thinking also about lift and then release. Hands turn up, right ear on the mat, looking to the left. So not just thinking about lifting and crunching into your low back, but thinking about trying to reach your feet back and the crown of your head forward. Turn your head back. Clasp your hands behind your back, bound locust, and bring your feet into touch. And then on an inhale, again, thinking about length. Lift your arms off your feet. Lift your feet off the ground, but lift them up and back. And then lift your head and your chest. Trying to reach your toes behind you, fingertips, fist behind you, crown of head forward, release. Turn your head to the right, left ear on the mat. Maybe your heart rate is increasing a little bit, just being with rather than reacting to. And then come on back center. One more. Bow pose. Grab your feet from the outside and kick and lift. I got a kind of cramp in my hamstring, so I let go of that. Whenever you are ready, release. And last time, turn your head to the left, right ear on the bow pose can be a pretty intense shape for a lot of people's bodies. We get out of breath. So just to feel your breath, feel your heart beating, and then turn your head back to center, and let's take Sphinx. So bring your forearms, elbows underneath your shoulders, palms flat in front of you. And this is actually a much more active shape than it seems like it might be. So you're pushing into your hands, pulling back, traction with your forearms. You're not moving, you're trying to pull your heart forward. You might even feel a nice stretch in your abdominal muscles. And then allow your torso to come down, hands in, plank position, tuck your toes, push up, high plank, to downward facing dog. Breathe in, downward facing dog. And then lift your right leg up. Bring shift forward, shoulders over your wrists. Right knee comes across, left elbow. Bring your right knee back up. Bring your right knee down the center. Knee to forehead, knee to nose. Right leg back up. Right knee to right elbow. And then put your foot down on the outside of your right hand. And if that's hard, then just shove your foot up. It's okay. Toe heel it up and drop your left and come on into runner's lunge. So again, we've done some more warming up, but we're taking the shape a lot sooner than we normally do in the practice. So again, trying to step away from good versus bad, right? So like for me right now, I have an injury, so I'm not doing a lot of these positions as deeply as I might. So you could say that that's bad, but maybe it's good. It's not good that I have an injury, but it's good that I'm protecting it and doing what my body's, not what my brain is saying, oh boy, this is the better way, right? So stepping out of that good and bad. Okay, we're going to come into extended side angle here. So what I want you guys to do is come up off of your forearms, or for laying down if you were doing that. Tuck your back toes, lift your back knee. Turn your left foot flat and keep your right hand on the ground to start with, or maybe even on a block on the inside, or you could put it on the outside of your right foot, and then lift your left arm up, roll open, extended side angle. And if you prefer to come up even further, you might have your hand on the floor, but you might want to come up and bring your right forearm onto your right thigh. whatever feels good to you today. Extending from the edge of your left toes rather, through the crown of your head. And then bring your bicep by your ear. Now extending edge of left toes through left fingertips. And then come on up, warrior two, but straighten your right leg. And let's take, instead of reverse warrior, reverse triangle. So both legs are straight. Right arm comes up. You might even, a teeny bit, jut your right hip out. It's not a very big movement for most people here. And then windmill down, coming into high plank, and making your way in whatever way feels right to you into downward facing dog. And pause. Breathe in and out. In downward facing dog. Heels sinking toward the ground. Noticing any sensation in the backs of your legs. All the way from your heels, your Achilles, ankles, calves, backs of your knees, hamstrings, backs of your legs, butt. Just noticing. Stepping away from ranking good, ranking bad, criticize. Lift up your left leg. Shift forward, bring your left knee to your right elbow. Come on back up. Shift forward, left knee toward forehead or knee to nose. Come on back up. Left knee to left elbow, and then place your foot on the outside of your right knee. And come on into runner's lunge on this side. Honoring what is. I wore these flowered pants in honor of impending spring weather that we've been having. If you're in Colorado Springs, you probably are aware that we may have like the biggest snowstorm in 10 years or whatever coming. So we just go with what shows up. It doesn't, we can't control what happens around us, but we can control how we react, how we respond to what happens around us. And so just noticing how you're feeling right now, and noticing whether you like the way you are showing up around all of that. Come on up onto your hands. Lift your back toes, tuck your back toes, lift your back knee, flatten out your right foot. Keep your left hand on the ground just for right now. And open up into extended side angle. And see how to have your hand on the ground. Maybe on the inside, maybe on the outside, again, maybe on a block. And if you prefer, coming up, left forearm on thigh, right foot into the mat, and then bring your right bicep by your ear, reach through, right fingertips, and then come on up, warrior two, straighten your left leg, lift your left arm, reverse triangle. Again, this is not a very big movement. It feels awkward for a lot of people. It's not often included in practices that much. So just be aware of and with whatever's showing up. Come on back down, Chaturanga, or right to downward facing dog. Going through the vinyasa. Or not. Downward facing dog. Lift your right leg up. Bend your knee, open up your hip. Make some circles, letting it feel good. Or maybe it feels good to just stay static. And then bring your right leg back up, step it through, spin your right foot flat, and come on into warrior one. from warrior one. Open up, warrior two. Sinking into your right knee, letting your right knee track over your right pinky toe. And then straighten your right knee. Come on into triangle. Reach forward and tilt. Reaching the crown of your head forward, your hips back, trying to keep your body open to the side of the room. And then come on up. Turn your feet parallel to each other, or even a little bit pigeon-toed. Clasp your hands behind your back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Lift your heart. Engage your quadriceps, the fronts of your legs. Engage your stomach muscles. And then bow. Prasarita, wide-legged forward bend. So your stomach muscles and your quadriceps, your thighs being engaged, that's the front of your body, back of your body. I got this. You can relax. Breathing, letting the breath, letting the time that we spend in this shape help you open up. And then rise up with a flat back as much as possible. Tee your arms out and come to warrior two to the back of your mat. Warrior two to the back of your mat. Straighten your left leg and take triangle here. Triangle on the left side. Right arm reaching up. You can be looking down at your left foot. You can be looking neutral at the wall to the side. Or maybe you're looking up at your right thumb, right over your face. But wherever you are, be breathing, be lengthening, and be in a space that's sustainable for you. It's not making you grit your teeth. Coming back up, warrior two. Turn to warrior one to the back of your mat. And then bring your hands down, one on either side of your left foot. Step your left foot back, high plank, and make your way to downward facing dog. Facing the back of your mat. Take a few breaths in, downward facing dog. And then lift your left foot up. Bend your knee, open up your hip. Circles, and you may want different circles on this side. Maybe it feels better to move your ankle around than your hip, or vice versa, or the same thing, whatever. Bring your left leg back up and step it through. Spin your right foot flat, warrior one. Find warrior one. Pushing into your right foot to get your right hip point facing forward. Clasp your hands behind your back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Lift your heart and bow. Humble warrior, bringing your left shoulder to the inside of your left knee. Letting your head hang. Your left hip from jutting too far out. And then release your hands, bring your hands down. Come up onto your right toes, have your right hand on the ground, and lift your left. Looking up at your left hand, if that feels okay, to your neck. Making any adjustments to any of these shapes if they don't work for you. And then bring your left hand down. Bring your right foot flat again. Maybe scoot your right foot in a little bit. We're going to come to reverse triangle. So you want to, or twisted triangle rather. So you want to straighten or straighten-ish your left leg. You can keep your right hand directly under your right shoulder. You can bring it to your left shin or on a block or just the outside of your left foot. And straighten out your back actually, wherever your hand is. Straighten out your back. So come to a little bit of a halfway lift and then lift your left arm up if you can. And maybe you can look up at your left hand. Twisting triangle. It's a pretty intense pose. And then release. Come to pyramid. So forward folding over your left foot, left thigh, or left shin rather. And your knee ideally is straight. So you might need to walk your hands up a little. If your knee can't be straight, big deal. No worries about that. And then what I want you to do is rebend your left knee. Come on up, warrior one, warrior two, and then I'm going to spin around here. I don't want to keep facing the back. And then come to stand up in your center. Turn your feet out this time. We're going to come to goddess pose. Bend your knees, sinking down as low as you can. Palms up, elbows bent by your sides. Some people also call this horse pose, I think, because it's kind of like sitting on a horse, although I'm no equestrian, so if that's not quite accurate, then forgive me. All right, and then from goddess, I'm going to back here, straighten your legs, just give them a break for a minute. Lift your arms up, turn your right foot back toward the front of your mat. Warrior two to the front of your mat, and turn yourself to warrior one. Clasp your hands behind your back. Squeeze your shoulder blades together. Humble warrior. Bowing with humility, bringing your right shoulder to the inside of your right knee, letting your hands come off your back. Try not to jut your right hip out too much. Release your hands down. Come up on your left toes for a minute, left hand down. Twist, lift your right arm. Looking up at your right hand. Landing here, right? So you know shapes that we're going to take in this sequence, but be here right now. And then bring your hand back, down, and we're going to move into twisting triangle. So left foot flat again, left hand can be underneath your left shoulder, on your right shin or outside of your right leg or block. Come back to straighten or straighten-ish your right knee. I'm going to keep it a bit bent here because of this injury I'm working with. Lengthen out your spine and then lift your right arm up. Twisting triangle. And maybe you follow your gaze looking up at your right hand. Not worrying about what it looks like. Worrying about what it feels like. And not even worrying about that either. Pyramid pose. Forward bending over your right thigh, shin. To whatever extent you can, right? We work with our bodies. I'm not happy that I have this injury, but working, pushing beyond what my body's asking me is only going to perpetuate the duration of the illness, if you were. And then, listen up, we're going to step our left foot up to meet our right. Let's take gorilla quickly here. So slide your hands, palms up, feet are hip width distance. Slide your hands, palms up underneath your feet. Inhale, lengthen your spine, and then exhale, forward fold. Maybe working to bend your elbows out. Maybe just thinking about lengthening your spine or straightening your legs. Whatever feels good to you here is what I encourage you to be doing. And then release your hands and roll up to standing. And when you get to standing, just for a moment, stand tall, Tadasana. Here you are, like a mountain. Tadasana is mountain pose. So standing, today in Colorado Springs, we can see Pikes Peak just fine. In a day or two, it's going to be covered with clouds, but same. How do we become like the mountain? And all of our emotions, all of the things that happen to us in our lives are just the weather. We stay unmoved underneath. Inhale your arms up. And sink into chair, Utkatasana. And let's come right into eagle. Right arm under, right leg up and over. Maybe you can wrap your right toes behind your left shin. Maybe you want to play with your hand position, lifting your elbows up a little bit more. If you're struggling with now, just put your right toes on the ground. Engaging your quad, your stomach can help. I've heard that in eagle, if you bend your knee even more, your standing knee, it helps with balance. It doesn't always work for me, but it's worth a try. And then bring your torso parallel to the ground. Bring your torso parallel to the ground. Keep your arms bound and unwind your right leg, coming into a bound airplane and then allowing your arms to unwind, coming into either airplane, arms reaching behind you, or warrior three, arms reaching out in front of you. Whichever one you like, whichever one works better for you today. And if you can't balance, if you're struggling with your balance today, maybe just smiling, finding the humor in it rather than ruining your own day over a yoga shape. Bring your hands to your heart. Bring your left hand down toward the ground, your right arm up to the ceiling, coming into half moon. Similar side opening to what we did in triangle. If your hand is on the ground or on a block, you still want to be balancing. You don't want to have a whole ton of weight in that hand. And then look down if you aren't already. Bring your right hand down, standing splits. Right hand is up. Maybe you walk your feet towards your left foot rather. If you want, you can bring your hands to the outside of or to grab onto your left calf to continue with the balance. And then let your right foot drop behind your left pinky toes touch. Or ish. Mine are not even close to touching. And if this is super intense, you can put your hands on a block, you can put your hands on your legs in whatever way. Breathing, breathing, breathing. If you're not breathing, you're not doing the yoga anymore. And bring your big toes back to touch and roll up to standing. Swivel your hips around a little bit. We'll do a side detour. Shift your weight into your right foot, and we're going to take tree. Bring your left foot wherever you like onto your right ankle, right shin, your right thigh. Begin with your hands at heart center, and then perhaps grow your branches. Become aware of whether you're slouching, whether you're kind of shifting into sinking into yourself, right? Doing sort of a pushing your pelvis forward shape. And then bring your hands back together to your heart and release your left foot down. Inhale your arms up. Utkatasana chair. And Garudasana eagle. Left arm under, left leg up and over. sinking into your right knee. Lifting your right elbows maybe. Maybe moving your hands away from your face. Noticing differences in how the balance is showing up for you on this side. Not deeming it better or worse. Recognizing it as different. Torso down, parallel to the ground, keeping your arms bound. Noticing engagement in your stomach muscles as you do this helps you find the shape. Unwind your left leg. Initially in bound airplane and then just unwinding into airplane or warrior three. Airplane would be your hands down, hands behind you rather, palms facing the ground. Warrior three would be hands stretched out in front of you, palms facing each other. And wherever you are, bring your palms back, hands back, heart center, and then opening up into airplane. Half moon. Right hand comes down, left hand comes up. And then bring your left hand down, standing splits. Maybe walking your hands toward your right foot, maybe clasping behind your right shin. And then drop your left foot behind your right so that your pinky toes touch. A few breaths here. And then uncross your feet, but bring your feet wide, turn your feet out, and let's come into Malasana, yogic squat. So I always have to give a caveat here. My butt doesn't come down very far here. If you can sink your butt down further toward the ground, then please do that. That's the shape we're going for. Another shape we're going for, no matter where your butt is in relation to the ground, is a long spine. So maybe hands together at your heart. Elbows can be on the insides of your knees. And as you stay here, if you have a block, and this is really excruciating to you, you can sit on your block. And that's going to give you the same opening with less intensity, same opening in your hips, with less intensity in your legs. Another option is to play around with crow pose. So you would put your hands down on the ground, bring your knees and the outsides of your triceps, look up, shift your weight forward, and lift your legs, crow. Again, core, right? So there's tons and tons of core engagement throughout our yoga practice without needing to do discrete stomach exercises. Not that doing those are a bad thing either. And if you're still in crow and you dare, shoot back, Chaturanga. Just straighten out your legs. Upward, facing dog, and then downward. Facing dog. And if you did not shoot back from crow, just make your way into down dog in whatever way works best for your body, and enjoy. Enjoy downward facing dog. A few breaths. And then from facing dog, lift your right leg up into the air. Bend your knee. Open up. Flip your dog. Come on into wild thing. So you would bring your right foot down. Reaching your right foot back behind you. Your right leg can be straight or bent. And then come on back. Three-legged dog. Step your right foot through. Drop your left knee. And come on up into Crescent Moon. So you can have your hands on your right thigh. You can lift your arms up. But I encourage you to, and if your knee is hurting a lot, just fold over the edge of your mat and double the cushioning underneath your knee. But what I encourage you to do is sink into and get some good opening here. And then bring your palms together. Make it out of the deep bend in your right knee. Palms together at your heart, twist. Left knee outside of your right thigh. You can keep your left knee on the ground. You can tuck your left toes and lift your left knee. You can lift your left knee without tucking your toes. Or you can keep your knee on the ground. These are just different options. It's not that one is better than the other. They're choices you can make based on how you feel in and about this practice today. And then unwind from your twist and pigeon. Toe heel, or take your hand and grab your right foot, bring it across to the left side of your body. Maybe walk your left knee back a little bit and come on down. We're going to hold pigeon today for 2 minutes. You're on the clock. And I'll give you a 1 minute alert. And what I'd like to do is be quiet and let you just go inside. I'll make a few noises so that you don't get worried and look up and think your computer might have stopped working. Let your head relax. Let your head rest on something. So your fists, the block, the floor. One minute. So maybe make some shifts. Just because a posture is static doesn't mean we need to stay in it exactly the same for those 2 minutes, although that may be what's right. Maybe the shifting is internal, is subtle. And regardless of the posture being static, our breath continues to flow. And begin to bring your body up. And step back into a downward facing dog. And lift up your left leg, bend your knee, open your hip. Maybe come on back and step your left foot through, drop your right knee, and we're coming into Crescent Moon. So again, maybe your hands are on your left thigh this time. Your hands can always be lifting up. And then bring your palms together and take the twist. Like we said on the other side, keep your toes untucked, toenails on the ground and lift your knee, tuck your toes and lift your knee, or keep your knee on the ground. And then unwind Left foot comes over to the right. Pigeon. 2 minutes on the clock. So no hurry if you weren't in pigeon quite yet. You just take the time to get there. And rest your head. How's your jaw? How are your toes? Are they clenched? Your fingers? Can you allow these big muscles and joints and bones in your body that are opening in this shape to do so without interference from clenched jaw, etc.? We're halfway through here, a 2-minute hold. What a blessing you give yourself, taking any amount of time to practice yoga. And then beginning to come up. Sit on your left hip. Swing your right leg around in front of you and then coming into a wide-legged straddle. So lengthening, widening your legs, straighten-ish both legs. Again, don't look at how far I am not doing it. Do it to your degree and then immediately walk forward. Allowing the weight of your chest, shoulders, arms to help deepen this stretch, but trying to lengthen your spine even now, right? So you're not looking to bring your chin to your chest, although you can tuck your head if you want, but you're still looking for more length and roundness, which of course doesn't mean that your body isn't rounding your spine. Walk over to your right leg. So your torso is going to come over your thigh. And have your hands right now, one on either side. Keep your left butt cheek on the ground. So you may not be able to go as deeply as you wish you could, but that's okay, because again, it's not about what it looks like, it's about how it feels in our body. Bring your right elbow to the inside of your right thigh. Roll open. Roll your body open and lift your left arm up and over. Again, being humble, keeping your left butt rooted to the ground, reaching for your right toes. Some people can grab them. But thinking about opening to the side here. And then come on up. And turn toward your left thigh. Torso comes over your thigh. Oopsie, reconnect that right butt on the ground. Reaching the crown of your head toward your left toes. And trying to keep, right now we're not rolling open, so you want to have your chest facing the ground. And if your elbows are on the ground, you want to have your right elbow on the ground as well. It's easy to roll open. And now we are going to roll open. Bring your left elbow on the inside. Right arm comes up. Right fingers reach toward your right toes. So I could be lifting my right butt cheek up, but what I sacrifice by doing that, I get closer to my toes, but I actually sacrifice some of the stretch. Come on up. And bring your left foot to meet your right. Feet out in front of you. Roll down. Laying on your back, bend your knees. Left ankle on top of your right knee. So we've done a bunch of hip openers. Let's come back to where we started. Supine figure four. And notice, right? I definitely notice this feels pretty different this time. How do you like that? Neither is better than the other. It's the way your body responds when your body's more open versus less open. That's all. Spinal twist. Slide your legs. If you want, you can take a different version, or just let your legs slide over to the right. Tee out your left arm, turn to the left. Come on back center and switch sides. Right ankle on top of your left knee. Supine figure four. Your shoulders down on the ground and relaxed as much as possible, and your butt also reaching for the ground. So you want as much of your spine on the floor as possible here. Release and twist. Knees come to the left. Breathing into the low back, into your low back. Come on back up. Separate your feet. Happy baby one more time. Pulling your knees down. This is a hip opener. And then release. Put your feet flat on the ground. Slide them down and lay on your back. Shavasana. Maybe push into the back of your head and lift your shoulders and chest a little. Walk your shoulder blades toward each other and then sink down. So your arms might kind of float outward a little bit. And just spending a few moments here in this resting pose, in Shavasana. Letting the wrinkles in your forehead relax. Softening around your ears, your jaw. Letting your tongue drop from the roof of your mouth. Letting your bones be as heavy as your bones actually are. And letting your breath just flow. I'm going to leave you guys here today. Thank you so very much for practicing with me today. As it turns out, I will see you next week again from my living room, not from my office. Perhaps someday sooner, rather than too much later, we'll meet again in person. I encourage you to spend a breath or two, or as long as you can, in a space of gratitude. Being grateful for your body that took you through this practice. Being grateful for the electricity, your computer or device, and that same electricity that's going to help keep your house heated when the weather cools down in a few days. Being grateful that even if it hit us back with full force, spring is coming. And knowing that everything changes. So perhaps it's incumbent upon us not to wait for the change, but to do our best to find gratitude for whatever's showing up and the lesson that's in it. I thank you so much for joining me in this practice today. Namaste.